Hello there and welcome to Times Exclusive right here on Times TV. My name is Elvis Howahowa. This is a program that takes a look at issues of national importance through the lenses of a variety of guests. And this evening, my guest is Dr. Chayima, a political scientist. And today, we'll be talking about manifestos. Remember, this program is brought to you courtesy of Rainbow Paints.
I love brilliant green on my walls. I love signal red, sweet lime, electric blue. I just love golden yellow.
You get all that and more at Rainbow Paints. Imagine a water-based paint that is water resistant. Imagine a paint that is absolutely washable to remove dirt. And it guarantees you 10,000 cleaning scrubs over its lifespan without losing its luster. There can only be one paint that does just that, and that paint is acrylic sheen. Get yours today at all leading hardware stores. Rainbow Paints. Peace of mind. Part of the deal.
Dr. Chayima, very good evening and welcome to Times Exclusive.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howahowa.
Thank you. All right. Over the last few weeks, we've seen a variety of political parties launching their manifestos, so from Umodzi Party of John Chisi to UTM, UDF, MCP, and of course the Democratic Progressive Party recently. What's your take on the way these manifestos were launched, and bearing in mind that there's less than a month to go before the general elections on the 21st of next month?
Well, thank you very much, Elvis. This has been a very exciting moment for our political parties, and also very exciting moments for all Malawians. You know, Malawians have been in the multi-party era for several decades now, and I think they are ready and willing to see how different political parties that are given mandate to govern the country can deliver their promises. And the manifestos that we have seen different political parties launching this period around, I can say that they haven't been much changes in the previous manifestos. My observation and my analysis has been that it's a kind of a copy and paste manifestos, because Malawians have been looking for something new that would really guarantee their status of development and economic growth, and also that can translate into tangible poverty reduction levels. So I can say, in brief, that's my observation.
All right. Before we go any further, what is a manifesto supposed to do in the political arena? What's the use of a manifesto? What is it all about?
A manifesto is actually a blueprint for a particular political party that lines up a number of agenda. We are talking about development agenda, because all in all, what people expect for from the manifesto are issues of development. Development in the economy sector, development in education sector, agricultural sector, poverty reduction, and so many other angles. And so when we look at the different manifestos that have been launched by different political parties, and we pick up notes from one political party's manifesto to another manifesto, we find that all that has been documented is almost the same. And so the purpose of the manifesto as a document is to make sure that what has been documented in the manifesto, in that particular document, has to be sorted out to the voters, so that they know what kind of arrangements in terms of offers a particular political party has come up with. And that's a document that markets ideas by different political leaders and political parties so that voters can buy in and vote for them.
Okay. Let's look at some of the issues that some of the political parties are talking about in their manifestos. For instance, let's start with infrastructure.
Yeah.
There are political parties that are saying they're going to build, for instance, a dual carriage from Blata to Mzuzu. There is another political party that's talking about bringing a bullet train, and the others that are talking of so many other things. Let's look at whether Malawi needs these things for now, or is there a need to concentrate on the basic things?
Well, like I said, that Malawians are expecting for development to take place in this country. But at the same time, we must be very careful to distinguish between the truth and the lie that politicians would want to bring to our attention. It would be almost naive and wishful thinking for the time being for a political party to be talking of introducing a bullet train in the country. It takes time to develop such kind of infrastructure. It would not be possible, so to say, for such kind of a promise to be delivered. The dual carriage, it would start, the project would start, but it would not be completed within a shortest space of period of time. Because when we look at the distance between Blanta and Mzuzu, it's quite a long distance. Only if our political parties were developing what we call national agenda and not political party agendas, something that can be continued even if the party loses the next elections. Somebody who comes in can still continue to carry out and perform those kind of infrastructure developments and the promises that are being delivered.
Why do you think that isn't in place, a national development agenda? Why hasn't, we had the Vision 2020, wasn't that a national development agenda?
Well, that was actually a national agenda. But when you look at Vision 2020, is that realistically going to be achieved? You will find that most of the agenda that has been lined up and most of the activities or the plan that is covered within that framework, I would say probably 50% of it has not even been achieved. And 2020 is only next year. We got only a few months to go before we hit 2020. Are we realistically going to be talking about achieving the Vision 2020? The answer is almost no, we will not do that. And the reason why we actually fail to achieve most of these national agendas is because of a political or lack of political will and also political selfishness. We centralize so much issues on political agenda rather than on a national agenda. We need to do outcome mapping of what we have done in the past and also focus ourselves on what is going to happen in the future. So when we look at such kind of national agenda, they are sometimes raped by different political parties who come in, or sometimes they are totally ignored such that they lose value and they lose meaning as well. So these are some of the things that make us fail to pursue national agenda, because different political parties and political leaders, they depart from national issues and start pursuing political issues.
On education, for instance, the Malawi Congress Party is talking about providing laptops to pupils, for instance, each pupil in primary schools. Others are talking about making sure that every child is sitting on a desk. Yet in Malawi, there aren't adequate classroom blocks, for instance. In Nanchengwa area in Zomba district, if I'm not mistaken, last year, a makeshift classroom fell on students.
Yeah, collapse. I remember that, yes.
And a couple died.
Yes, I do remember that.
What's needed there? Do you need laptops? Do you need desks? Or you need, first of all, to get the basics in place? Classrooms, and you take it step by step in Malawi's context.
Yeah. Let's look at the current education system in the country. We are running education sector with fair infrastructure. We are looking at schools. There are very few schools that we have, and made out of poor materials. For instance, you'll still find a child learning under the tree in most of the districts in the country because there's lack of building infrastructure like classrooms. Okay, and it would be a good idea, of course, to introduce modern equipment or learning methodologies in our schools, like introduction of computers. But let's look at what is the priority areas first. Is a laptop a priority area for every student in the country? Or the school itself that provides security is a priority? So we should look at what is it that is a priority and that what is it that can be achieved. If we look at the cost of building a school as compared to the cost of buying a laptop, I think with the cost of buying a laptop, we could be able to put up a foundation for one classroom block for a student. So I would say it's better to prioritize what is in the best interest of sustaining the economy or sustaining the sector like education sector, rather than just bring in something that you dream you can bring while it delivers very little sense to a particular student.
All right.
Yeah.
Remember, you're watching Times Exclusive here on Times TV with me, Elvis Howahowa, and today we're talking about manifestos with Dr. George Chayima. He is a political scientist. Dr. Chayima, let's proceed with our discussion and talk about another cancer in Malawi's society, and that's corruption. Have these manifestos, or have these political parties through their manifestos been definite on what they're going to do about corruption?
First, I must say that Malawi is becoming a shame to the whole world as of now, because issues that foreigners or Malawians themselves would talk about when you come together is about corruption. Our country is heavily corrupt, and almost every sector of government, every sector of a private entity is corrupt. And these are the things that were not there before. They came in at a certain period, and unfortunately they came to stay. And when you look at the manifesto, the manifestos that have been unveiled, there is no political party that has come up in the open about how they are going to tackle and end corruption. They talk about we'll end corruption, but they do not go into details about how or what specifics will be followed to deal with corrupt issues. And this is actually making our country grow poorer and poorer and poorer and poorer. Nobody should cheat you that Malawi is becoming any better at all. Malawi is becoming poorer and poorer. And we should, let me mention here, these are not your views as Times television, but these are my views as a political analyst. When the World Bank and the IMF come and tell us their usual rhetoric theory of poverty reduction, of economic growth, and started praising us that we're doing better, I think I would want to counteract that statement by the World Bank and IMF. We should not become, complacent that we're doing better economically. We are not doing any better.
In other words, what are you trying to say? Things on the ground are not okay.
What I'm trying to say is that when we talk about economic growth, if you can look at the different manifestos that have been unveiled, they are talking about sustainable economic development and economic growth. Okay, when they talk about people-centered governments, they're talking about the government that would belong to the people, both theoretically and practically. Okay, and the government that would see people grow in terms of their economic growth. They need to understand that when we talk about economic growth, we are talking about poverty reduction. Okay, because poverty levels are going down and economy is picking up. Okay, practically, not theoretically, like World Bank and IMF come and tell us that you are doing better, you are doing better. That is a theory. That is theory. But we're talking about practice. If we look at our people, the earning power or the market value of different products, it does not even match. They're completely with a huge disparity. The earning power and the spending power are completely different. Would we say that our economy is growing?
How do you connect that to the matter at hand now, corruption? What's the relationship?
Yeah, I am. What I'm trying to say is that the country cannot grow economically, and poverty reduction cannot be there tangibly if the people do not have money in their pockets. Okay, but if you look at it critically and carefully, you will find that there are two things that are making Malawians poorer and poorer. Okay, number one is corruption. And it's depriving people of their right to get out of poverty. They are still trapped in the bondage of poverty. And you'll see that the people that are doing better, either you have to become a politician and have political powers and have access, to public resources and plunder them. And those are the people. You will never find a politician who is poor. You recall that one of the aspirants, the presidential aspirants, said that there are actually people who went into government thin, and today they have their necks bigger. You understand?
Yeah, Dr. Chayima.
So this, what I'm talking about, is that corruption affects economic growth. And economic growth itself cannot be real if the people do not have money in their pockets. And I talked about two things. That is the first one. And the second thing that I can talk about is I'm still coming back to the issues of World Bank and IMF. Yeah. Their policies are not favorable to small economies like Malawi.
So what would you want to see these political parties talk about when it comes to institutions like the IMF and World Bank in their manifestos? What would you have wanted to be hearing from this political party?
What I would want to see hearing from these political parties and their manifestos is that they should promise Malawians that they will develop the country and give money back to the people.
Not basing on IMF and World Bank policies.
No. IMF and World Bank, these institutions, if you look at them critically, analyze them critically, I'm not trying to attack them, but I'm talking about facts. These are institutions that, in a way, are also making poor countries poorer and poorer. Okay? They come up with different offers, but with heavy strings attached to that.
An example?
For example, their interest rates that they give to countries. They do not just give interest rates that are not favorable to countries, poor countries rather. They also bring in certain policies that are either against the cultural practices of particular countries, or they introduce something or certain laws that should be forced or imposed upon particular poor countries. And so that is against the norms of economic growth. And the World Bank, the IMF, they do not go into the villages to confirm how economic growth is being translated on the ground practically. Mm-hmm. All they do is go into the offices, open books, go through what has been documented, either by the Minister of Finance or by whosoever experts that have analyzed that, and they come up to present that to the nation to say your economy is growing. Mm. Yet practically, economic growth means high poverty reduction levels, and poverty reduction levels mean people must have money in their pockets. Mm. People must have food on the table. Mm-hmm. Let's look at our GDP. Let's also look at our what I can say, our income per capita. These are something that are not favorable to the lives of ordinary Malawians. Mm-hmm. So these are some of the things that the IMF and the World Bank must look at when they want to introduce some mechanism of economic growth in the country. Mm. And these are also some of the things that political parties should have looked at and addressed in their manifestos when they come to sell their manifestos to the people. Malawi, our own country, sometimes has failed actually to get assistance from other countries or from other developmental agencies because IMF and the World Bank have brought in policies that monopolize their own state or status of assistance to Malawian. And what if IMF and the World Bank dies today? What will happen to Malawian? We must look at other options of developing our economy rather than just depending on IMF and the World Bank and putting all of our trust in IMF and the World Bank. We must look at our own economy and develop our own development agenda as a country, as a nation. We must learn to take risks that can drive our economy from this level to a level of higher dimension and become sustainable. Look at some countries like Tanzania. If you go there and look at the infrastructure, you can be proud to say that country is going through development process now. Let's look at what is happening in our country. We can only appreciate maybe with one or two things when we look at what President Mutharika is doing. He has tried his best to provide roads, nice roads throughout the country. Any place or any part of the country where you go, you find that President Mutharika is actually building roads. He has tried also with the technical schools in a few places. But these are the things that we need to be done more and more.
You are watching Times Exclusive with me, Elvis Howahowa, and today we're talking manifestos with Dr. George Chayima. A couple of political parties prior to the elections next year have launched their manifestos. These include Umodzi Party, Umodzi Party, Malawi Congress Party. There is UDF there as well, and the Democratic Progressive Party. But do these manifestos really mean anything to the voter? That's the second question. That's the other question we'll be asking right after the break.
I love brilliant green on my walls. I love signal red, sweet lime, electric blue. I just love golden yellow.
You get all that and more at Rainbow Paints. Imagine a water-based paint that is water-resistant. Imagine a paint that is absolutely washable to remove dirt. And it guarantees you 10,000 cleaning scrubs over its lifespan without losing its luster. There can only be one paint that does just that, and that paint is acrylic sheen. Get yours today at all leading hardware stores. Rainbow Paints. Peace of mind. Part of the deal.
All right, this is Times exclusive right here on Times TV with me, Elvis Howahowa. Today we're talking manifestos with Dr. George Chayima, a political scientist. Dr. Chayima, should voters take these things seriously? I mean the manifestos.
You know, during every election, political parties will need to sell themselves, market themselves, based on a certain blueprint called manifesto. So we can say that manifestos are necessary document, like I said at the beginning, but how to take them seriously still remains a big question. You know, let's look at what has happened in the past. Different political parties have made different promises. How many of those promises have been achieved?
Let's talk about, let's give a definite example. The Democratic Progressive Party.
Yes.
Because they're the ones who are in power now.
Yes.
They launched their manifesto in 2014, promised a lot.
Yeah.
One of the issues of the promise is to make oversight or governance institutions like Anti-Corruption Bureau free, the appointment of the Director General to be moved away from the President, for instance, to another autonomous part of the government like the Parliament, reduction of presidential powers, etc., was all in there. But none of these were really fulfilled, these promises. Can they do it this time around?
Well, your analysis of what you have spoken about provides answers to the question that you asked. You know, political parties promise. This is what I said, that the challenge is these manifestos are promising a lot. Okay, when they promise a lot, the question is, are they going to deliver all what they have promised? We must reflect and look at what has happened before. Political parties and their leaders promised a lot of things. It's not only DPP. There was UDF before DPP came in. Have they delivered everything that they promised? If the answer is no, then it's difficult for Malawians to believe the manifestos and take them seriously.
But
it's not about me. It's about Malawians and the promises coming from different politicians. What we must bear in mind is that these politicians, when these leaders, these political parties that are coming up with the promises, will be accountable someday for their failure to deliver their promises, or they'll be accountable for doing the best they could by delivering the promises that they made.
How do you hold them accountable?
Well, we must take them to, we must bring them into account. They must come in and, you know, point at what they have done and point at what they have failed. They must give reasons if they fail. Why have you failed? Why have you failed to deliver what you promised?
But they never do that. So should Malawians just be waiting?
That's where we can actually hold them accountable. Yeah, you only hold somebody accountable when you confront him. Tell us, you promised to give us an egg. You have never given us an egg. Where is that egg? Then he must be given a chance to explain. What I can tell is my analysis as a political analyst is that they have always had too much on their plate to promise. If political parties had at least a well-sized number of development agenda or promises in their manifesto and be able to deliver that in a specific period of 5 years, Malawians could have confidence in our leaders, confidence in our political parties.
Do people have access to these manifestos? Because it's one thing to launch them, but how do people get hold of them?
This is what I was talking about a few days ago, that the challenge is these manifestos are only published during the launch. They're actually publicized during the launch, and after that, there's nothing that happens rather than going on usual campaign spree. But what they were supposed to do is print these manifestos, circulate them the way they used to do handouts for campaign. They must do handouts of their manifestos so that people have those documents in their possession. They must read them, because how many people understand manifestos when they're being launched and what they have summarized there? Cannot summarize everything that has been documented in a 142-page manifesto. So I would suggest that political parties must make these manifestos available to the voters, and there must be also intensive voter education about these manifestos for different political parties. I'm talking about those political parties that are serious, because some political parties are just wasting time, but they have the freedom, the right to be part of what is happening now. So it would help most if they would make these manifestos available to the voters so that they can read them, understand them, and if they fail to deliver, they can also say, you failed here, you succeeded here, give us the reason why did you fail. And at the parliament, there must be that session whereby leaders can be going there, be asked questions, and be able to answer.
All right. Let's talk about another criticism that has been leveled against political parties in as far as these manifestos are concerned. The criticism is that they didn't consult anyone. Here we mean people on the ground, the voters. They were not consulted on what they would want to see in those manifestos. Yeah. What are the challenges that they're facing that they would want these political parties to address in their manifestos? Yeah. Is that criticism fair?
It is fair, actually. You will see that most of these political parties develop manifestos using experts at boardroom levels. They do not really go into the field, into the villages, to ask voters what they want them to do for them. And they go back, draw their manifestos, print them, launch them, but without consulting the people. That is a very serious anomaly in the electoral process. And also especially, I would say, in the campaign process. Because you are actually going on the podium to lie to the people, not to actually tell them that they are going to respond to what the people need by coming up with a specific area of addressing a need in the manifesto. So what I'm trying to say here is that where there is no consultation from the voters' point of view, you as a political party may end up not addressing the real needs of the people, the real needs of the voter. As a result, you are going to sell what you think you want. For example, the question that you gave me at the beginning about the bullet train. Do villagers at the moment want that bullet train? What will they use it for? What will they rush to Nzuzu for? Or what will they rush to Blantyre for from Nzuzu? People want something that can address their needs, pertinent needs. We are looking at pertinent needs, critical needs that can make their lives easier and better. Of course, we need those bullet trains, but the time is not now. We have no infrastructure. We need to develop the infrastructure that can make us as a country that has developed from the poverty level to a developed economy. Our economy has not yet developed. But we need to introduce certain systems and mechanisms that can translate into tangible economic growth and economic development. Before we talk about those bullet trains, let's build better hospitals. Let's build better schools. Let's provide drugs in our hospitals. Let's say empower rural areas. let's have sustainable energy supply. Let's have sustainable water supply. And when we have all these things, now we can talk about the bullet train. But it would be just like fooling Malawians or voters when you want to sell your manifesto on matters that do not really count to the lives of ordinary people.
So, realistically, what should have been in these manifestos, realistically? What's achievable?
Well, realistically, we could look at different areas. Malawi has got poverty reduction and growth strategy. We could look at those things that have not been achieved in those kind of national agenda, like we talked about Vision 2020. What is it that has not been achieved out of those national agenda? We could put our focus on those issues. We should also analyze why have we failed to achieve them. There was an MDG, Millennium Development Goal. That instrument, when we looked at that, did we achieve everything? If we failed, which area did we fail to achieve? We could be looking at those areas, because when we were developing those national development agenda, we had an agenda of development. And so what I would want to see in these manifestos are the things that are practically achievable, practically derivable, and something that would translate into economic growth and poverty reduction.
All right, this is Times Exclusive coming your way from Times TV with me, Elvis Howahowa. Today we're talking to Dr. Chayima, a political scientist, and we're speaking about manifestos, from the DPP manifesto to the UTMs to the UDFs to the Umoja parties and the Malawi Congresses, the rest of them. What is it that they have in those manifestos that are going to benefit Malawians? And the Malawians really concerned about these manifestos? Is it something that's really going to make them to vote for a particular party, or there is something more? Remember, this program is brought to you courtesy of Rainbow Paints.
I love brilliant green on my walls. I love signal red, sweet lime, electric blue. I just love golden yellow.
You get all that and more at Rainbow Paints. Imagine a water-based paint that is water-resistant. Imagine a paint that is absolutely washable to remove dirt. And it guarantees you 10,000 cleaning scrubs over its lifespan without losing its luster. There can only be one paint that does just that, and that paint is acrylic sheen. Get yours today at all leading hardware stores. Rainbow Paints. Peace of mind. Part of the deal.
If you're just joining us, this is Times Exclusive right here on Times TV. My name is Elvis Howahowa, and today I'm joined by Dr. Chayima, a political scientist, and is dissecting manifestos. What is it in there that's really for the ordinary people? That's the question. That's $1 million question we're asking this evening. Dr. Chayima, you touched on another issue that we haven't really went deep into, and that's hospitals, health in other words. We've seen nurses protesting on the streets, protesting against government's failure to recruit them. The country's health system is about 5,000 nurses, if I'm not mistaken, but there are very few there. Lots of them are just staying at home. There is even corruption in these hospitals, people stealing drugs and selling them. Malawi losing billions and billions of kwachas because of corruption. You've got shortage of drugs, shortage of doctors, shortage of infrastructure, shortage of almost everything, beds, people sleeping on the floor, shortage of equipment for treating people. People have to fly outside to be treated for heart diseases and brain tumors and all sorts of diseases. Are we seeing anything, again, the same question, that's really saying or screaming through these manifestos that, we're here and we're going to address these problems?
The truth of the matter is that what I told you from the beginning is that these manifestos are copy and paste manifestos. They keep on telling us the same things that they talked or they promised us before, and nothing new to address a specific area. And I would want to see the health sector be given high priority. Many people who become critically sick in this country end up dying. Very sad. They die. Why? Because of corruption. There is no medicine in the hospital, and the medicine that gets in the hospital also leaves the hospital and go on the market for sale. I don't think we can expect an ordinary Malawian to survive. If you look at people who are capable, especially in the political domain, you will never hear that they are admitted at these hospitals. They will fly out to India. They will fly out to Germany, France, South Africa. Why do they do that? To me, I feel that's a big shame. When they are actually in the position whereby they can provide better healthy care services, better medical care services. And these are the things that we need to see happening. Not letting our women die in hospitals, die in labor, our children die in pediatric wards without proper care and attention. And we need to train the people like nurses and doctors. After training, we need to give them jobs. It would be meaningless to train a nurse and later on you fail to give her a job to work or to serve the people in the field of his training. So these are the things that I think I needed to look at them at different political parties address critically. And this is why I said that most of these manifestos, they are not specifically coming up with solutions to say, okay, we will address the health sector by doing A, B, C, D. How do you address the issue of medical pilferage in the hospital? How are you going to address issues of shortage of ambulances? Or you have an ambulance, it's not running, and where is fuel for running that? These are the areas we could be looking at. We have nurses, what are we doing with them? We must give them jobs. They must go and serve the patients in the hospital. So these are the kind of things that we've been expecting to be articulated in manifestos. We're also looking at private institutions. They are private entrepreneurs, or the private sector rather, who would want to develop different medical hospitals in the country. It's possible it can be done if only there's a political goodwill from those in power, and also if there is an opportunity of having access to different funding institutions without being blocked by any institution at all.
Okay. Dr. Chayima, a political scientist, thank you very much for coming through to talk to us on Times Exclusive about manifestos.
You are very welcome.
And that's where we leave it in today's edition of the program Times Exclusive, right here on Times TV. Today we were talking to Dr. Chayima, a political scientist, about manifestos. You know that there are a few days to go before the elections on 21st of May, and political parties have launched their blueprints to tell Malawians what they're going to do once they get into that particular office. But is it worth it? Is it worth the risk for Malawians to be trusting these political parties because of these manifestos? You got your answers, but this is Times Exclusive. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, this program was brought to you courtesy of Rainbow Paints.